Ladies and gentlemen, the internet brought us a lot of good things. Can we agree upon that? We have access to so much information, to so much knowledge. In our case here, we research historical tempi. It's unbelievable what sources you can access just by diving into Google or just go to archive.com or IMSLP. It's unbelievable. The internet is what should and actually connects people globally, and maybe it will change the future of this globe, of this planet Earth in a good way. But can we be honest also about the fact that the internet also sometimes and maybe a lot of times brings the worst out of humanity? People that have an anonymous account go on YouTube, go on Twitter or X or wherever and are commenting in a way that you would never expect some decent human beings to do. And in this video, I'm going to show you a little bit of that nature. Unfortunately, that happens, of course, to people who are on the internet like me on YouTube. You expose yourself to these kinds of comments and people. And I don't mind generally, but in this case, I want to make an exception. I'm going to show you a video and we're going to talk about that a little bit, not to ventilate my frustration, because I am not frustrated on can I say it, a kind of idiotic behavior, as we have gonna see in a minute. But we can learn actually a little bit, actually a lot, by just diving into the description of this video and to really see what drives people to go sometimes really very far in debunking the whole beat theory. And at the end of this video, it won't be very long, I promise, though, you know, I like to talk. I would love to make podcasts, by the way. And if you would like me to hear in podcasts, I already have a podcast, but only on Patreon. That's the best format for me, because you can take one subject and you dive into it 40 minutes. Just make a story around it. YouTube is so quick, but I know you are the best audience. You have an attention span that's more than average on YouTube. I can see that in my statistics. It's actually unbelievable. So the videos I make where I just talk to you like I'm doing now, they have they go over 50% sometimes in attention range, which means like all of you together, all the viewers, the average of watch time on my videos over 50%. That's unbelievable. That's not only my, I cannot only pat myself on the shoulder, it's also you. You are interested in the stuff we're bringing, and that's unbelievable. So I'm super motivated to make these videos. I actually would make more videos for you if I had more time. But the podcast is something that I really would like to do, and I really would like to dive into soon. By the way, my computer is acting weird. I hope it's still recording. Anyways, I'm going to show you that video, but at the end of it, it will have not really a twist. But this weird video on this weird channel has one comment, and that actually is also something we should look into, because I think for a certain generation of musicians, and I'm careful now what I'm saying, let's say a generation or older than I am, and maybe also my generation, we tend to have very, 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 very many difficulties with change, and we deal very badly with that. That will be at the end of the video. But now, without further ado, I'm going to take you to that particular video, which is published on the weird channel Piano for Life. And basically what this guy has done, I assume, is go on Bandcamp, where all of our symphonies are, and you get to listen to them 3 times before Bandcamp will ask you to buy them. And these 3 times, of course, is in a very low resolution, but apparently what this guy did was just download them live, recording them on your computer. You can do that if you want. Be my guest. We will have them in a very low resolution, or you can also think like what we are doing is actually great. We're the only ones who try to just go against the mainstream direction, both of mainstream performance and hip performances, and think like say like, yeah, back in those days, it's impossible that Beethoven drove a Ferrari. And if you want to support that, you can also buy the recordings on Bandcamp, or you just go on our website and you buy them directly in this beautiful box. People that got this box now, we sent over almost 400 boxes. We get the most insane testimonials, like very emotional stories, even people listening to that, opening Beethoven for them in a completely new way. Yes, we're proud of that. And you can support the channel and the research we're doing by just going on our website or on Bandcamp. Not act like this Mr. Piano for Life did, download all of it illegal, and then re-uploaded it on his channel with some comments and with a changed tempo. Of course, because that's what they do. Out of millions of recordings of Beethoven symphonies, they have to pick ours. Why? Because they hate the way we are playing, and it's not actually that. Honestly, I think they admire the way we are playing it, but they hate the idea that we are actually changing the music in a way that logically, also to them, it becomes clear that there is no other solution to get to the point where when you want to play the music as Beethoven intended, that you have to go in that direction. Not saying that I'm a genius. You don't need to be a genius to see that if the metronome marks pose so many problems with hundreds if not thousands of metronome marks that are not just musically ridiculous, but flat out impossible, and yes, they are. Point being is you don't need to be a genius to look at those metronome marks and say, yeah, you have just two options. The metronome can be used in the way we are doing today in the modern use, where every click just represents the note value, one beat of that metronome mark. Or you use two clicks for one beat, which is a very normal, common known knowledge. It's a standard practice of pendulums. And the metronome was considered also to be a mechanical pendulum. The evolution, by the way, towards the metronome is super interesting, and we are actually going to add a little layer on our book to also point in that direction, because sometimes people, and maybe you as well, think that the metronome came out of nothing, but that's not true. Since Mersenne, we have actually many people that introduced some kind of pendulum of chronometer, and towards the end of the 18th century, the cry for something that can fix time forever for a composer actually increases. So that's all cool to know. Okay, but here we have this video of this Piano for Life, Wim Wenders Alberto Sanna Beethoven Symphonies, but I fixed the tempo. And by the way, this video will disappear because obviously our symphonies are copyright protected. What did you think? Our label is protected, we haven't. If you go with this barcode, you will see that it is property of Wim Wenders BV, which is my company, and all the individual tracks have a code, and that's a unique code, so that also YouTube knows that whenever you play this recording illegally on YouTube, and it's in this case just flat out 100% reuse, then YouTube will give me a warning and say, hey, we discovered something. Do you want to take action? And to be honest, that's the ugly guy I am. You have two options. Either I could have said like remove the video immediately and this guy would get a copyright strike, or I give him 7 days or her 7 days to remove that video. And if he doesn't do that, YouTube will do it with the copyright strike. Rightfully so, but in the 7 days, you have time to get to a certain action, shall we say it like that. But now we are day 4 or whatever, and the video is still there. But by the time you see this video, it might be removed. So again, out of millions of recordings that have more or less a similar tempo, like we try to reach the stars with Beethoven, but we don't reach them because those metronome marks, most of them are ridiculous, and many of them, even for orchestras, are impossible to reach or are only reachable when you make a lot of compromises. We talked already about the 9th Symphony. I made a comparison between our recording of this recording and John Elliott Gardiner, who hasn't, of course, he's one of the most known conductors, even more so than Roger Norrington. Norrington is slower than Gardiner. Gardiner sped up. Norrington, however, claiming that he played Beethoven a tempo. He didn't. Gardiner claims the same. He doesn't. But in the 9th Symphony, first movement, he starts at Beethoven's tempo in single beat. But then whenever you hear even the first theme, ta-dam, ta-dam, he plays the 30-second notes, not as 30 seconds in its tempo, but as 8 notes, even slower than the 30 seconds that we play at our recording. So all these compromises have to be made. And so All to say that when you go to this video and you think, okay, people hate our recording so much because sometimes in the end, in some ways or shape or form, it triggers something in their mind, leading them to that conclusion and saying like, this kind of negative, positive reaction, seeing the obvious, but don't want that to become mainstream. It will be mainstream, I can promise you that. There is no way that this idea, this whole beat theory, it's not a theory, it's a practice, is going to be stopped. Once this is published, it's officially there, it is in the world. The book that we are going to publish will be there. Even if just one person buys it, but I think many more will purchase it. But we get so many emails saying, where is the book? We want to have the book, even in the comment section. It's coming. But once that idea is there, you don't, again, need to be a genius to see the logic of that. In fact, every person that I get to talk to in real life, even the other day, I met someone from the radio, national radio here in Belgium. I gave him a box. And I explained to him the concept, and he said, like, why didn't I hear anything about this before? We're going to feature this on national radio from September. It's going to be a program around this. We're going to have podcasts about this, also on other platforms, and maybe in Dutch, maybe locally, whatever. But point is, everyone you talk to, or I talk to, I get to talk to like more than 2 minutes in a one-on-one situation. Not a public debate. I would love that, by the way. Anywhere in the world, I will be there. I pay for my own plane tickets, though I wouldn't mind if you pay for mine. But I will be there. I would love a debate if it's moderated well. But the point being is, when you talk to people one-on-one, it just takes them 15 seconds to say like, yeah, of course. Everybody knows about the problem, but we get so used to not solving it that we don't realize that actually Beethoven was not a stupid idiot, as wasn't Schumann and Chopin and Mendelssohn and all the others who give metronome marks that are just beyond comprehension if you read them in single beat. Anyways, but that recording, that triggers so much negative emotion for some people that they need to feel the need to illegally download. You cannot even download it from Bandcamp. You have to open your computer and live stream everything on a screen capture program in a shitty resolution, like a very low resolution MP3, because that's what you get on Bandcamp when you listen for free. And so the sound, of course, is crap because also of the changed tempo, and not only the tempo, also the pitch. I'll come back to that in a second. But I feel the need to just do that, knowing that it's illegal, knowing that they are just violating copyright. And not only that, guys, we worked more than 4 years for this. This is hours and hours, hundreds of hours of work. This box costs a lot of money as well, and you supported that. We raised almost 20,000 euros to finance this, and barely we didn't make any profit. And so there is a guy, Piano for Life, that hates us so much that he goes on Bandcamp and downloads our recordings. Why don't you make your own? And then do this exercise. That would be cool, by the way, seeing those tempi played live. And so let's go through his comments and stop ranting about it. And again, I'm not frustrated. I'm a little angry, yes. But we are correct. We are going to correct some points here. So the guy also uploaded apparently another video on his channel. I clicked on that, and I have to say I don't know where to start even. This just like Wim is wrong about everything, and this very long video is going to tell you that Wim is wrong about everything. And yes, he's wrong about everything. And now I'm going to say why he's wrong about everything. Because he's wrong about everything. Well, that's a hell of an argument. And if you can repeat that 40 minutes long, I would love to see his statistics, by the way, of audience retention rate, but would not be as high as me because he doesn't have an audience like I have. I'm really blessed for that. So if you're still here after 15 minutes me ranting, then let's read it together. So after I made my video where I debunked and argued against Wim Winters, you tried to debunk, but it was a very poor exercise. And by the way, I'll bring you on my channel live and we'll have a discussion. I looked back on it and I realized how negative I was towards Carl Czerny. Oh, yeah. So you didn't notice that while making the video. Congratulations. In my video, I dismissed Czerny's transcriptions of the 9 Beethoven symphonies, the transcriptions that Wim and Alberto Sanna used for their recording. By the way, why do you call me Wim? I have a second name, Wim Winders. Wim is like for people, you don't know me. And you did such an ugly thing to my work here that how on earth, but what's wrong with people? Why do you call me Wim? Don't do that. I would say correct the description, but it's going to be removed anyway soon. As an inferior to the orchestral sound that Beethoven had when writing the symphonies. Wow, that's cool. You compare a piano transcription with a symphonic orchestra. Cool. Great point. Didn't know that. I still think that's true. Congratulations, by the way, that you stand with your point of a video that you made just 2 weeks earlier. But I failed to mention how Czerny's transcription actually sound. To be honest, there is nothing wrong with them. Yes, Czerny is waiting for your approval. By the way, he was Beethoven's student. He says this in autobiography. Why am I so good in making transcriptions? Because I learned from the best. And guess who that was? That was Beethoven. Are you a student, Mr. Piano for Life, of Beethoven? Did you ever make the transcription? Have you ever compared Czerny's transcriptions of these symphonies with other transcriptions, even other transcriptions that he made? They are exceptional. They are so exceptional that even Franz Liszt never transcribed the Beethoven symphonies for 4 hands. Why would he? In fact, it's so that his solo transcription was based most probably on these transcriptions. They are just genius. It's the best. This is the best. It's an art in itself. So yes, Czerny doesn't need your approval, but anyways, but I failed to mention and so on and so on. They sound perfectly fine to me. It's just the piano itself has inherent issues that can be smoothed over by an orchestra. Well, this piano that we are playing on, this Pottfliege Fritz, I'm not saying that's the best pianoforte ever built, but I'm really sure that if you make a top 5 list of pianofortes ever built, that my piano will be there. It's an exceptional instrument, and I'm not saying only because it is my instrument. It's also because what I hear from other people saying, and also listening to other recordings, the clarity of this instrument, the dynamic range, the treble, the length of tone, everything is there. And I can tell you, it's a pity that Pottfliege doesn't publish any research or any, findings. And it's not just findings, it's experience over 30 years of all the material choices that he made and all the different choices that he made compared to just how he considered pianos of that time to be built. There are some changes made according to the original that he also owns, that also there the piano makes a difference. It's an unbelievable instrument. So yeah, that instrument sounds almost as good as an orchestra. Anyways, and since all the transcriptions have never been recorded in modern tempo, I wonder why. I decided to take it upon myself to speed up the recordings into a normal tempo so that they can be fairly compared to Beethoven's original scoring. Oh, and what is the normal tempo? Let's see what the normal tempo is. And now I come to my point after ranting and being very angry. No, I'm not actually angry. It also even doesn't make me sad. Let's be honest, it's an easy target for me. Like, why would you do such a thing? You take our recordings and then you're going to speed it up into a normal tempo because you like the Czerny transcriptions now so much. That's a pity that nobody heard the original, these recordings or these transcriptions in the modern tempo. And so therefore you feel the need to download these illegal from Bandcamp in a shitty resolution and upload it on YouTube, risking me actually to say to YouTube, give the guy a copyright strike. And a copyright strike is not a copyright claim. A copyright strike is like if you have 2 of them, you are gone. If you make... So why would you take that risk? Why would you? That's the negative, positive, emotional connection to this, I would say. Give me your address, I will send you a box. You will enjoy it. I know. You get a handwritten copy from me. No, just kidding. Charge you double. And then the note, this change in tempo did not involve me simply doubling the speed. Oh, yeah, but that's the whole crux of this project. We play exactly in Beethoven's tempo indications in whole beat. So if you hate those, and we are so wrong, then the only option is to just double them. No, he didn't do that. Each movement was adjusted to a tempo most would find normal. And then, if I was to just double the speed, some of the tempi wouldn't work musically. Ouch. You know what you're saying? If I were to double the tempi, which means if I were to play back these recordings in a tempo that I know for sure Beethoven wanted, they don't sound musically. Connect the dots. You're saying Beethoven didn't know how to perform his works. I know. I mean, this sounds ridiculous. You can like another tempo, but you cannot say that if you double this and this is your way of seeing the metronome marks, and you need to digitally double the tempo because, of course, nobody can play it on a piano like this. Even the orchestras cannot do it. What is your point? I mean, this doesn't make any sense. So you take our recordings, not to even prove how a single beat version of Czerny transcription. I mean, where's the logic? So each tempo was personally decided by me in a way that I felt best suited to the music. Me, 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 me. Where's Beethoven? Where's Beethoven? 3 months before he died, he said to his publisher Schott, wait for my metronome marks for the Missa Solemnis. Unfortunately, he didn't give the metronome marks for them. Nobody did, by the way. That's a huge, huge, huge miss in history. But 3 months before his... And then he says like, yeah, metronome marks are important. People need them. The premiere in Berlin of my 9th symphony, by the way, that's the premiere where Mendelssohn was singing. Unbelievable, right? That's a success Beethoven wrote because of my metronome marks. He didn't say like, oh, let's call to piano for live because then I get the tempi that really are great for my music. That's, yeah. I guarantee this will make Wim angry. Well, in a way, it's so funny. But if he does, that's not my problem. No, it will become your problem when you get your copyright strike. I'm not trying to insist that these are the correct tempi. Oh, even that is not his point. And this is how it should be played. Well, these tempi were decided by me and only by me. Well, then make your own version. Piano for life, if you have a channel around the piano, I guess you're a pianist. Find you a partner and play these transcriptions in the tempo you want. But don't make any claims that have absolutely no ground whatsoever. But anyways, we close this very quickly. And then we go to the little twists at the end. The other thing I changed was the tuning. And he means actually pitch. My version has the instrument tuned roughly to A430 or 432. Well, that's a huge difference. Wim's version, for some reason, seems to be tuned higher than 440. In fact, the first 2 symphonies seem to be tuned a quarter step higher at 450! Exclamation mark. It's been established that 430 was the standard tuning in Beethoven's day, and authentic performances of Beethoven will tell you so. I wonder how a performance can tell you the authentic pitch in Beethoven's time. Well, anyways, why Wim has chosen not to tune to 430 is something I do not know. So, like I said, I changed it to 430. When, if you would purchase it on Bandcamp, you would also have gotten this booklet, digitally, of course. And there is actually a chapter on my pianoforte. And what does it say? A traveling pitch. It's here. You could have read that. And you would have known then by now, instead of acting like an idiot, I know everything, that 430 was absolutely not a standard pitch in Vienna. That in fact this was agreed upon a few decades ago, I think even by one of the members of the Keuken family, that say like, listen, everybody has his own pitch, let's standardize it to 430, let's make a middle thing. Because in Vienna, you had very low pitches and you had very high pitches. In fact, Beethoven's tuning fork, it's in the British Museum. You can visit that page. You can even listen to Beethoven's tuning fork was tuned at 455.4. So, in spite of the fact that we all know that in Vienna the pitch was 430, Beethoven's tuning fork was 455. And by the way, the reason that we have used several pitches is because the piano in that time, a Viennese piano is a traveling pitch piano. It doesn't stay on one pitch. It goes and it goes back. And the scaling of the strings of my piano suggests a much higher tuning than even 440. It even went up to 460. It's almost choir tone. Oh yes, that existed 465, even in the 18th century. And by the way, in Vienna, even late 19th century, instruments for the army were actually surpassing 460. They were going to almost 500. There are articles on the internet. Just Google them. Anyways, with all of this, all of the Czerny transcriptions of the 9 symphonies have been normalized. No, they have been butchered, because Czerny himself says the smallest deviation of time destroys the entire composition. So that's what you just did. And I can say it here because it are Czerny's transcriptions. The metronome marks are there. So you didn't normalize them, you butchered them, also in sound, by the way. So that they can be given a fair listen. A fair listen? You illegally downloaded our For You work there. It's not fair, it's unfair. Without being confined by whole beat. What do you think? Well, that I just expressed. Do they sound anything good? No, absolutely not. I'll leave it up to you to decide. Yes, I've decided, and I said to YouTube, take it down. And if you don't take it down in the coming 3 days, you will get a copyright strike. And if you have to, your channel will be destroyed, which I don't think will be a great loss of society. Because what YouTube is actually expecting you to do is original work. You just find the piano for life, and you record it, these symphonies in the tempo you like, and then we're friends. I have nothing to say to that. If you like that, fine. What we are doing here is try to reconstruct what Beethoven had in mind. If you don't like that, for whatever reason, fine. But don't pretend that what your tempi are is better than what these people actually decided. And these people, it's not me and Alberto, it's Beethoven and Czerny. But then I come to the final point. There's a comment made on that, and that is actually the reason why I made this video in the first place, by Richard Eggar. I don't know if I pronounce his name correctly, and honestly, I don't know if it's the Richard Eggar. I mean, this is an important guy. He's conductor, harpsichord player, fortepiano player. He also recorded a few of these forehand transcriptions with second player. I think on a Pleyel piano and on a late Graf piano. And I suspect it is his channel or his avatar, because it's 4041. That's the Bach numbers, you know. That's like, if you know a little bit about this kind of style and things, you know, whatever. I keep it in the middle, but what he writes is fabulous. The playing is still horrid, but well done. Buffoonery at its purest. Thanks for this very fun post. Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, when I said like the internet brings the best out of people, and it's a blessing for our generation, for the generations that can actually make use of that, and for the future, it's only we hope that the internet really not only digitally connects everybody, but also connects people in a way that there will be like some unity on this globe, you know, especially in these days. I mean, what are people thinking, invading countries and doing horrible things to other human beings? I mean, can we just not live together and share everything like of this planet for the good of humanity? No, the internet also brings the other part out of people, and this is actually an example out of that. This is very sarcastic. The playing is still horrid. I mean, this is absolutely top playing. And yes, I'm saying it myself. There is nothing wrong with this. This is super professional. This is perfectly in time. This is well accentuated. This is the pianoforte is well treated. The touch is absolutely fine. By the way, my colleague Alberto Sana is a first-class virtuoso pianist. He doesn't have to take any lessons from anyone. So this recording is not horrid. And not still horrid, of course, when you play it like that. It's just fine. Why is it so difficult to say that? Why is it so difficult as colleagues to just agree upon our differences? I'm not going to make videos about Richard Eggar's Beethoven and say, like, see, it is too slow. You cannot play it in single beat. Of course you cannot play it in single beat. I'm not doing that. The guy didn't make a claim as to, I know that you have to play in the metronome marks or other, but here's like still horrid. He doesn't mean that this is absolutely horrible playing. That's of course what these people do not mean. And that's also, they mean like they play in a tempo that we didn't see was the logical tempo. Ouch. Ouch. And now I'm in my 60s. And what I have to do, I have recorded like so many important recordings with important labels. And now these idiots come with this and all the problems that we saw. Of course we saw, because we are historically informed. Of course we look into metronome marks, but we abandon them. Why? Because they're unreachable. And then we stick to the mainstream belief, because that's the belief that they don't matter. They're just targets. Nobody took them seriously. Well, that's painful, of course, when you then go straight forward and you say like, no, that's not true. Metronome marks were meant to be played. They were the most accurate representation of what the composer had in mind. In fact, they were seen as not only accurate tempo indications, but as a floor upon which everything would be built of the composition, including the character. It's not only Carl Czerny who make that claim. The smallest deviation in time destroys the entire composition. You find a lot of these quotes by important people. And that's what people like him, if it is Richard Egger, I keep that in the middle. But it's representative for many more musicians, my colleagues. They don't think that I'm a terrible player, even if they write that. They think our playing is absolutely fine. They don't like the idea. And there's, again, this positive-negative connotation. We're going to twist it. This is horrible. No, let's talk about the content. Buffoonery at its purest. Thanks for this funny post. So you're scanning the internet to come to this. I didn't know of the existence of Piano for Life. I mean, there is no suggestion in your home on your homepage of YouTube. You have to actively look on. It takes you hours to find a video like that. I was notified by YouTube. Why? Can we not just talk about that? Reach my hand, also to Richard Egger. Invite me to The Hague, to the conservatory. Organize a symposium. Let's talk about it. Yeah, it can be so that we make some claims that you didn't think about it. And so what? What are we going to do with our musical society, and especially with the historical informed performance practice domain? Are we going to sit on our findings and say like, we are not going to change, even though other people bring up some new evidence, some new elements that could potentially guide us towards what Beethoven partially had in mind? This is one way of playing this tempo. You can take another interpretation. We are very strict in applying the tempo, but maybe you want a little bit more fluctuation. I don't know. We don't like that very much right now. That's why we played it like that. But from this tempo floor, you can have a zillion ways forward and talk about it. And yes, some things that you claimed for to be true previously will have to go. I would be happy when I will be 82 years old, and that's in 30 years. Imagine I'm still healthy. And someone comes to me and says, like, all of you, what you did actually was wrong. And here's why. And if I look at the evidence, then I will support that idea. I don't see this happen with the tempo reconstruction, by the way, because there's no reconstruction involved. It's just you take 2 takes for one, that's it. We have to write a book of 700 pages and still think like, where are the back doors that we have to close? Because people will be looking for those. That's the world we live in. Apparently, not for you watching still now, because I know you are here for the same thing as we are. And then people say like, we are wrong then. Well, sometimes, what do you think? We're going back in time 200 years ago, 250 years ago. What do you think? This is kind of history, like reconstruction. Imagine you would have a biography of Napoleon. And there will be all kinds of facts that are not right, but we like the heroic story of that. And then somebody comes like, yeah, but this actually is not true, because if you look at it from this angle and combine it with that source and this, we know for sure that there in Waterloo, wherever, Napoleon was actually doing this instead of that. Less heroic, but factually true. What do we say as historians? Like, get rid of the new facts because we like the heroic story. That's what happens with Beethoven. We don't like it. Well, that's normal. If you listen to Beethoven your entire life and you listen, there's some people actually immediately are converted into our tempo because they never liked the fast versions. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time. The Fifth Symphony, it's ingrained in our DNA. The first time you listen is a shock. The second time you're confused. And the third time, if you realize that there's a real solution, you'll like it. Up to a way that you cannot go back anymore. But there is, of course, a transition. We know that. Also, our way of playing is a little bit new. Not too much rubato, as I said. A lot of accentuation, like very straightforward, but like completely true to the score, at least that we think. Can we talk about that? Invite me to a symposium instead of going on a video like this, of which everybody should know. This guy is not right here, to sit 10 hours, because it's 10 hours of recording at his computer, downloading or copying it illegally from Bandcamp, and then adjusting everything. It's not really what you are. What do you do with your life? But anyways, I hope that will happen some days. I have only one condition when I would be invited for a symposium: that the moderator needs to be incredibly strict. And by that I mean when there is a question asked or when there's a point made, we go to the bottom. We define what the problem is. And if we can, we are not escaping like, yeah, the problem, we have to, whatever. I once had a discussion with someone who said like, I brought up the fact, yeah, metronome marks are always in the 19th century described as accurate tempo indications. And the guy said like, yeah, but for every of those sources we know are the sources that prove the opposite. I said, I give you 5,000 euros if you found me one. I wouldn't do that in public though, because God knows what is published in the 19th century. But the guy didn't have one in his mind. Why do you make that argument? I need a moderator like that say like, yeah, but you made that point. Now I want to hear some of these quotes. You don't have them. Why do you make that point publicly on stage? That's the thing. Going in a debate can be a great opportunity to come closer to the truth. And I would be more than happy to do that. Am I saying that all the issues are solved with this whole beat, that we don't have to learn more about the transition from whole beat to single beat? There will be a part in the book that we have to zoom in on the early 20th century. Yes. Is it all up to me and the small team that I have? No. The book that we're going to publish is just, hopefully, the foundation with a lot of points, a lot of directions that can be deepened, that can be researched, that are researches on its own. Would be more than happy to do that. Better use of our time than to make a comment on a stupid, can I say it like that, YouTube video. Guys, almost 40 minutes. I told you, I would love to make podcast. This is more like a YouTube podcast, right? Anyways, let me know what you think. And if you want to support really the things that we are doing, then go on Bandcamp and purchase the recordings. You can download them in high resolution. We have also a full Beethoven experience where you get this box, Bandcamp, 25 hours of podcast, Alberto and me talking about the listening guide to this beautiful box of symphonies. It's a new way of listening, of course. That's all on our website, link in the description box. Thank you for being here. And thanks for watching. We see each other very soon again. Bye.